YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I'm your host TKK and we are back with another video, guys. It is 24 hours after life with the S95D from Samsung. It's actually 48 hours for me, actually, since I put together my content, posted my first bit of content, unboxing it, going through initial impressions, but it's actually been 24 hours since the general stream of content creators and media has put out all the testers for this TV, and I'm loving it. I'm very grateful for everything the community is doing. This is a great TV. This video is going to be more discussion or more of a Q&A, just not live. Okay, I've had a little bit of time to sit back and try to create more content with the TV, but in the midst of that, reviewing some of the questions, going through other YouTubers like FOMO, like Whisper Status, like Tech with KG. I watch all of these guys and just diving into the comment section, looking at the questions that people are asking, the statements that people are making, even looking at the stuff that people have said on my channel, on my one video that I've got doing my initial unboxing and impressions. It's just been interesting, just taking it all in. I love reading about, what you guys think. I got to get back to doing this type of upload because your comments lead to further content, and that's essentially what this is, okay? So I wanted to set you up for the video expectations. We are going to have some timestamps down below for a few of the frequently asked questions or comments so that we can discuss them. Feel free to use those timestamps. You might get yourself right to a talking point that might be beneficial to you, as well as I'm going to go a little bit further as to offering my opinion on this flagship OLED from Samsung in 2024. In any event, we're going to get it going right after this intro. All right, guys, so this isn't going to be too crazy of a video render. We're just going to, have a discussion about this TV today, okay? I just want to get back to some normalcy. All right, so, let's start off with my opinion about this TV so far, okay? I've had a couple of days in with it. This is, I'd say the third day, so 48 hours I've had with the TV. And it's been a great experience. I've watched a little bit of content on the TV. Some of the content that I watched on the TV, specifically, I rewatched the 2 episodes. Well, now there's 3, but the 2 episodes of X-Men 97, which I'm a big fan of. X-Men TAS from back in the day, from like the 90s. Great show, and I personally like the follow-up of 97. I don't want to go too far into that, but I think they're doing a really good job of executing. Now, of course, that's some animation stuff. The TV does, in my opinion, a great job of handling motion, and I'm going to use this show as a reference just from like episode 1. If you're familiar with the show, episode 1, Cyclops being the leader of the X-Men, or I don't know, second in command now, I guess, Magneto being in charge. He's got a scene where he's fighting and he's doing a lot of sliding, and he's taking full advantage of like his optic blast. Like he's using it to kind of cascade him in a different direction as he's fighting, which is incredible. It was a very hype moment for anybody that is a leader. Like we needed that moment for Cyclops. Okay. But, I've watched that. I watched an old school movie called The Count of Monte Cristo. There wasn't a lot of content I could get into watching with this TV because it's 55-inch. I'm like, my eyes are in their 40s, and I'm accustomed to larger TVs. Most of my TVs are going to be 77-inch, with my bedroom being 65. That's soon going to be 77. More content about that in the future, but so I haven't watched a ton of content. Now, I know there's been some asks, sports, hockey, this, that. Like, I'm not that guy. I'm not the one to sit and spend hours and hours and hours just testing different things. That's not how it works for me, okay? I do consider myself a reviewer, but I know when I started doing this 3 years ago, I didn't consider myself a reviewer. I just said that I was a consumer that was just offering you my opinion. And kind of in the middle with that, but I am technically a reviewer, but I'm just not the one that's going to test every single thing. Okay. This is why I spoke about like some of the community members earlier. In totality, we'll all have you covered in all different ways. Okay. But I did get to watch a movie I watched some old school TS X-Men, and I watched the 2 episodes of 97. Now, gaming is my thing. It's the reason that I bought this TV. And so when we talk about gaming, I did the initial impressions the other day, if you haven't seen it. And we went into talking about the game Alone in the Dark. It was something new, something I have not tested. And sorry, man, I had something in my darn eye. But so I used Alone in the Dark because it was something new and I wanted something fresh, something that I didn't know what to really look for. Okay. And I know it's a very contrast heavy like game. It's a game where, you have to be able to see things in the dark essentially. Okay. Again, if you haven't seen that, check it out. Just a little bit of clip and content about that I think was very helpful. But I did get to play some other games, right? So I did my general run-of-the-mill stuff, played some fighting games. That was all excellent. No issues there. Getting the TV set up and synchronized with all the PC functionality, the 4K, 144 hertz. You don't have to overclock it like 2022 S95D. It's just already ready to work out of the box. Everything was just it was flawless in that regard. I did have a slight issue though with my setup, and I was a little concerned. I was so concerned. I had a video made. I got like 6 minutes into recording, and then as I was recording, I started, tinkering around with some things. So what was happening was I was having these crazy like and I'll card it in. I'll edit this video and I'll card it in what I was seeing. It was some crazy stuff. It led me to believe it might have been my GPU because I had just built a PC for this TV and for the purposes of reviewing it, and it's gonna go in my audio video cabinet for the A95L. But so I built this PC, and this PC is around the architecture of an RTX 3080, right? Excuse me. And so within that being a thing, I'm thinking that I'm having some GPU problems because I was having this crazy colored out. I'll card it in so you should be able to see it. It was this craziness going on with the screen. I took the 3080 out, put a 3070 in because I had a spare 3070. So same thing was happening. So I went back to the 3080. So what I found out was that, man, I'm sorry, dry throat, had to get some pineapple. But what I realized was what was happening was apparently there was some kind of handshake issue. I don't know if this is to be a concern with One Connect or not, but what was happening is within Windows, I was turning on HDR, and then when I would enable like variable refresh rate, I would get that crazy looking screen. Okay, if I turn HDR off, like things were fine. If I turned it on, I got the screen. It was wild. It led me to believe that the issue resided within my graphics card. And so again, I switched from the 3080 to the 3070, went back to the 3080 because I'm like, nah, I know for a fact this 3070 is fine. It was just a whole thing. But with me playing fighting games, Alone in the Dark, let me see, I played some old school, stuff, because I wanted to kind of test SDR. And I didn't want to do all this on camera. This was more so just like me just kind of doing my own thing, my own 1-2 step when I get the TV. Man, I didn't have any problems, okay? I had no problems. And using deep learning super sample is definitely essential. PC gaming with the type of equipment that I'm using on this TV currently, because I'm not playing with like a 4090. Like I'm not like the upper echelon stuff is like right over there. You know what I'm saying? Or on this desk, 4090 here, 4090 there. That's where I know I'm going to be able to get max settings and everything. But I have to rely on like the upscaling rendering techniques that the PC offers for me to be able to get the higher refresh rate. What was happening with the S95C, and I'll show an Alcardian right now if you haven't seen the content. It was a cause for me taking it out of here and putting my G2 back in here. When I played at 4K 144 hertz or even below that, I was just having constant dropouts, guys. It doesn't matter what I was doing. I could just be sitting idle with the desktop on. I've made all the content to show proof just so people wouldn't be, oh, well, he's just talking. I mean, some of the people out there, they get a little bit too intimately involved with the brand, and they think that you're trying to bash the brand. And the whole time it's like, man, I made the investment. I'm just trying to get enjoyment out of it, and I'm sharing it to just create some awareness. So I appreciate so many of you guys asking me, hey, have they fixed these issues? Well, the truth is that these issues were intermittent. There's no way to really know unless you have those issues. Now, one thing I just want to kind of settle in on with this particular timestamp is that Vincent from HDTV Test was the one that cascaded, letting everybody know that the S95C's One Connect were not full 48 gigabyte per second. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's the one that broke the news on that. Okay, up until then, everybody was just like, hey, it's you get the full HDMI's, everything 2.1, and it's all good to go. I don't personally believe that to be the issue, just because I've seen enough people comment that say they own the TV. I mean, every person that's subscribed that leaves a comment doesn't make content, so you gotta know where to validate. They said that they've had a fix, they've got some work done with the One Connect box. And then to go further, I've talked to technicians locally to where I am that have said that they have repaired and have had fixes for this. So I don't believe it has anything to do with the 48 gigabyte per second, which this TV, the S95D, allegedly does have that from what I've read. I don't know. I don't have the equipment to test that again. It's not my space in YouTube. I just do what I do, right? And I don't try to venture off into something else unless I feel like I'm comfortable and I'm able to speak to that science and I have that math all figured out, okay? So I really just think, it's an intermittent thing. So I really don't have a way to tell you if that is fixed until it does happen. But as of right now, it looks good, guys. So gaming is fine on the TV, I promise you. Okay, so let's dive a little bit deeper into the discussion on the finish with this television. Matte finish, okay? And there's enough substance out there for us to be able to look at different content creators. And again, this is why I spoke about the different reviewers in the beginning of this video, because when you got one person, which my video was pretty much the first video out outside of like some retailer or any other thing that might have been from like CES. I think I had pretty much the first like consumer video out there that spoke about this TV, and it gets challenged very easy if you've got one guy that's saying, hey, this is okay, this actually looks good. Now, never mind you the fact that I own two 2024 gloss 3rd generation QD-OLED monitors. That's this one that I'm in front of, and that one that's within that white and blue arcade cabinet. Those are both 32-inch Gen 3 from Samsung Display QD-OLED panels, okay? So having the S95D to the right of me is actually where it's at. The way that I have, like, my expectations with what the matte finish offered me was, hey, I know that for a fact I've seen reflections with all the OLEDs that I've ever had, okay? If you get a big one, if you get one that's got any type of light, anything, even in this room, without me having this blasting light that's in front of me behind the camera, I would be able to see what's behind me because the screen, the screen almost acts as if it's like a darn mirror, okay? And so the matte finish just does a fantastic job of that. Now, sitting back watching the videos of the other content creators has definitely cemented like what I've seen. Center on, it's absolutely flawless. You don't lose the contrast at an angle. It's just that depending on how the light and reflections may hit, you may see a little slight bit of like a milky black, okay? Now, you're going to get some people that's going to try to run with that and say, oh my God, this is just the worst thing ever. You don't know what you're talking about, man. You need to go see the TV when the TVs are up. I don't even know if these TVs are up in big box retailers yet. I'm not sure, but definitely great, right? So Tech with KG said it best. It looks like an OLED. It does not look like it's an LED. It looks like an OLED. It's just something new. And I know that sometimes when you get new things, you're going to get people that are going to feel like, man, why did they make this decision? Well, one thing I'm going to say is we are talking about Samsung. We're talking about a company that prides themselves on the success of their business. I have not had any affiliation with Samsung. I was not even present at this event that everybody went to. So everything that I'm saying is just truly from me buying a TV and having it myself, right? So with that being said, it's like when you think about a company that is trying to, get their product into the homes of more people, right, around the globe, coming out with some type of technology that segregates it from its number two is brilliant. Because to be honest with you, last year, it didn't really make a lot of sense for you to buy the S95C. The 90C, if you got a Gen 2 panel, especially if it was 77-inch out the gate, that was the TV to get. It was cheaper. Most people could not focus on the speakers that you got with the 95C, because if you did like a receiver, a sound bar, you didn't need them anyway. You got the same picture quality technology. Like, there was no reason to buy the higher tier. And then when you start getting people like myself and others flooding the community talking about the blackout issues with the 95C, it only makes it look worse. It makes it look like the sure winner is the number 2. Well, my opinion is what they've done this year is they've segregated the number 1 and number 2. And they said, if you want the absolute best finish on the screen for you to be able to see the most quality of the content, again, keep it in mind, how good is a screen if you can see reflections within it, right? Now, we're not talking about a movie room. This is not a theater screen, which theater screens do have a finish that reflects light too. Let's keep that in mind. When we go to theaters, there is a screen that reflects, that fights reflections, okay? We're talking about a TV. So most people are not going to have, as KG said in this video, the bat cave, okay? I don't have the bat cave. I got a living room, right? You have to go to like my boy Tech Enthusiasm, and even then, he has a theater screen, not a TV. How good is a screen if you can see everything that's in front of it? I mean, it takes away from the quality because you're going to be so focused on not seeing what you are seeing. And once you do see that dome light, that bookshelf, or that blind, right? That mirror, that light that's there, that night light, whatever it might be, once you have settled in on that, you are going to see that. I realize that some people still have not experienced what an OLED is, and so it's one of the biggest opportunities that I'm glad is finally being addressed. So they've said that, hey, now you get this finish. This finish puts you in a position where you can actually focus more on the screen, like seeing just the quality, because we're fighting everything that's in front of it, right? So the trade-off is a little bit of distortion with your blacks at an angle. Come on, most people are not going to be sitting at an angle far enough for you to be able to notice any of the imperfections, right? But I think the trade-offs definitely work in favor of the S95D with the matte finish. I don't know. What do you guys think? This content is being shot, talking about some of the things that I've seen, but I really think that we need to further the discussion so that we can have more talking points to it. On to the next thing. All right, so let's go into this talking about audio. And I've said this, and again, this is me trying to answer some questions that have come up time and time within my video, and I've seen some others. I don't have enough experience with the S95C to really focus on the audio. Now, where I have the S95C, granted, I could be taking more of an advantage of using it, but I told you, the way that I intended to use this TV, after the A95L was made present, it was done for. And then I said, hey, I have another life for it. That life was as a gaming room. In here, where you see the 77G2 behind me, which, by the way, I have a audio system. There's a receiver, there's a center, and then there's 2 towers. I did have some bookshelves on this side of the wall to give me a surround sound, but I decided I didn't need that. So I've got a 3 point, what do I got? I just got a 3.0 system now. I don't even have subs. I got 2 towers and a center, and that's my audio system right now. And so I didn't have a need for the S95C's integrated audio even when I had it in here as a game room. So I don't have a lot of experience with that, okay? I realize that, being a reviewer, having every little fine detail helps, but unfortunately I can't speak intelligently to that. What I can tell you is that the time that I spent with the S95D, I have used it without a receiver. I have no intentions on hooking it up with a receiver. I have a specific space in mind where this TV is going to go. And so, the audio sounds pretty good. It's pretty impressive to me. But again, there's a gap there for me where I didn't care about S95P audio. I didn't care about S90C audio. And so, now I didn't utilize the audio on S95C. And so now I'm hearing the 95D. It could be the same as 95C. It could be better. And then 2, my TV, the S95D is 55-inch, my 95C 77-inch. So I don't feel like I'd be able to really give you a true fair comparison. I just can't speak intelligently to that. I'm humble enough to admit that, right? It's just not something that I've focused enough on. My personal belief is, I wouldn't look at the TV so much as a huge selling point from an audio perspective, but it does have a system on it. It's going to be better than most speakers on TVs, man. I mean, it's just going to be that. Now, most manufacturers are now going to offer you some type of artificial intelligence integration that's going to boost and it's going to make it where you're getting more bass, more treble, etc. So that's something you can take advantage of. But I just can't speak enough to that. I still feel like at the end of the day, invest in some kind of sound bar. Get the audio front facing. You just got to keep in mind, it doesn't matter if there's 50 speakers on the back of the TV. If you're mounting it or if you're setting it up against a wall on a TV stand, the audio is still facing away from you, right? So it's no different than if I turn around, right, and I have a conversation with you. Let's try it. If I'm talking to you right now, my microphone is on the other side versus if I get back to you, get the audio front facing. So my suggestion is always going to be get some audio facing to you, get a sound bar that's going to get the audio projected towards you. Take it a little further, get yourself a receiver. Get a receiver. Now you have dedicated separates. You've got a center that you've got one speaker that's going to be talking to you. And now you've got the separates giving you the left, right, the highs, the lows, all of that, the sub and the mid bass, so everything that you need. But that's what I think on the audio piece of it. All right. Lastly, I wanted to speak on the processing a little bit. So I think the biggest win for this TV is the fact that there is some added processing to it. This was a big thing when I went to CES. I was really impressed with Samsung, just because I've been a consumer a very long time in this field, and you hear about processing all the time. When you hear about processing, picture processing, you normally think of Sony. It's just because it's one of those things that they seem to pride themselves on, and I can appreciate the fact that they do that. I like the fact that Samsung is talking about that. Image quality looks really good. As I said, using Disney Plus integrated to the app, I spoke about earlier in the transition, earlier transitions in the video, talked about watching the TAS X-Men on Disney Plus. That content hasn't been like upscaled or anything. Whereas to, X-Men 97 is new. It's like, it's brand new content, right? So that older content looks pretty good. I did watch some YouTube. I've been following this unfortunate stuff going on with Puff Daddy, the producer mogul, and so there's a couple of people that I do follow on YouTube for that type of news, and so that content's look pretty good, pretty crisp. I mean, again, it's 55-inch, man. So I mean, there's only so much I can really talk about. When I watched the Count of Monte Cristo, I was watching it through Plex app. All this going through the actual TV. None of this being through a set-top box. I didn't want to connect any other sources other than PC to this. So I have not connected like the console or anything like that. But yeah, I think picture quality has been fine. Now, how much the processing has to do with that, I'm not sure. There's some great settings within the TV. And then speaking to Tizen, it seems really snappy, really good. This feels like, in my opinion, the most robust version of it. I think that the S95B just Tizen had a bad reputation. It just wasn't great. And before S95B, Samsung wasn't even on my radar for a TV to buy, right? And so I think it was an introductory for a lot of people to come back, especially if you were looking into 8K. Which that's a whole nother topic we'll talk about, man. And 900D is looking freaking ridiculous, but I digress. Tizen feels like there was a real upgrade made there, as well as there's just some quality of life changes, right? One thing I showed within my review, my initial impressions, was that when you hit the setting button, now it just comes up with like a couple of options, right? You've got the on the bottom left, you're gonna have the virtual keypad. You're going to have settings, and then you're going to have like smart things. I like that. Instead of bringing up all this content, it's like, damn, this is distracting as hell. Like, I'm bringing this up. Maybe I don't want to look at everything. I just hit settings, so maybe I want a couple of different things, right? Maybe I want to go to smart things with the TV, or maybe I just want to pull up the keypad so that I can mute or do something different, right? So very thoughtful stuff there, man. It just seems like, all in all, the TV manufacturer has went into the right direction. But let's bring some conclusions to this. So all in all, I mean, the TV is still new. It is definitely flagship. It is definitely quality. It puts you in the position to have the absolute best picture quality while also giving you the most innovative screen technology, bar none. I mean, it's just out there, right? I mean, you've got the frame that is from Samsung, right? But this gives you essentially that finish, but with pixel level control contrast, right? We still have that. It's still an OLED. Taking it further, it's still a QD-OLED, right? So the level of color volume, saturation potential, the black levels, right? The bright details are there, all while essentially making the screen look like a void. Like it's just like when it's black, especially if you're center on. Now, if you have a lot of artificial light or some uncontrollable light, in fact, when I say artificial light, the interesting thing is when you go into some of these retail chains, they'll have a lot of false light. Nobody's going to have their house as bright as they have them. So it will be very interesting to see how they position these TVs. Though I've seen the frame, so I think it looks pretty good. I think it'll be a great way to show you your differences. Make a decision off S90D or S95D based on looking at these stores. If stores like Best Buy set this display up similar to how they did 95C and 90C, where they've got 77 and 65, you'd be able to see reflection blocking versus full mirror. Okay, that will be the biggest telltale for you, to be able to see how you're getting the same level of contrast and colors and such like that, right? And also, which is interesting because I should be making this content because nobody really has. Well, FOMO does have this kind of content, but it'd be really hot to see both of those side by side, right? Or up and down, okay? If they set these up in the retail chains the way that they need to, getting them right next to each other, it'll be a good telltale for you. I think most people are going to take advantage of the matte finish. We've gotten tired of seeing reflections behind us, and this TV has this finish that does help with it. All in all, I'm enjoying it. If you can afford it, definitely something to consider. If you feel like, it's just not for you and you've seen it, that's totally cool, man. That's what they got the S90D for. And you don't have to hate the S95D because it's not for you. You just need to go with the lesser option, understanding it is the lesser option. So S90D is definitely not a TV that I'm looking forward to buying. Won't be an investment this year I make, man. After this is going to be C4. Well, I got C4 coming, so I should be in a day or two. I should have it. So we got C4 and a 42-inch, and then that big body MLA 83-inch. That's what I'm thinking. Well, I don't know. We're gonna see. And then of course we gotta wait. We gotta wait for the crown holder. We gotta wait for Sony to see what they're gonna do. But we're gonna keep the respects on Samsung. I do appreciate you guys for tapping into my video, leaving comments. Like I said, it leads to other content. And shout outs to God for providing me with pineapples, because in between these transitions, as I was choking to death, I was getting a couple pieces of pineapple. I'm trying to make some more health conscious decisions. So instead of drinking juice, you know what I'm saying, or even water, like just eating fruit and getting the hydration from that or whatever. I don't know. That's some off-camera stuff that TKK is working on, but I appreciate you guys for tuning in to this video. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace. God bless. And as I always say, man, Max Love, we out.